My 28F crush on a colleague, 20SM, is now affecting my relationship with my husband, 29M. My husband and I have been together for 10 years. Yes, we are each other's first and only relationship. And yes, we have always had different hobbies and interests. I enjoy books, crafts, cooking, following sports, and music. I work in healthcare. My husband likes video games, anime, and programming. Programming is also his job. Video games make me nauseous and he hasn't read a book since 12th grade. To give you an idea of how opposite we are. On a given weekend, for example, we spend meal times together, maybe we'll watch a movie or talk over cups of coffee, but most of the day we spend pursuing our separate hobbies. My husband can spend an entire weekend on the computer without thinking. I'll dabble between several hobbies and pursuits. We like to say that we're on opposite ends of the ADHD spectrum, with me having to dabble in several hobbies for a short amount of time each, while he's prone to hyperfocus and forgets the world around him. Anyway, for years this has worked fine, but a few months ago this was kind of shaken up. In my department I often have rotating students for a few weeks, usually young female students. I had one student recently that was closer to my age and male, and during the workday we'd have conversations about interests and hobbies. He shared several of my interests and I developed a crush on him. Fine on its own, crushes come and go. And the student has since stopped rotating with me and I'll likely never see him again. However, I find myself getting annoyed with my husband much more frequently. I'm irked by the fact that he spends all day on the computer. I'm irked by the fact that he's never heard of the musicians I like, much less ever heard their music. I'm irked by the sounds of his anime shows to the point where I'm constantly reminding him to wear headphones, or I sit in another room with the door shut. To be honest, I've never loved his hobbies, but I always figured I don't have to like them. They're not up to my approval, they're for his enjoyment. But now I find myself wondering, wouldn't it be nice to have a partner that liked to read, that didn't play video games, that didn't spend all day on the computer? I've been working at focusing on the positives about my husband, but these feelings I have are starting to sink in and sometimes outweigh his many positives. Any advice for me on reframing my mindset? Too long didn't read, developed crush on colleague, now comparing him to husband and need to refocus. You know what? I have been seeing a number of posts about people having relationship problems lately that also mention the pandemic. It has affected all of us, and I think we need to keep this in mind when we think of our home life. Not being able to do what we used to has really thrown all of us off our game. This is temporary. Don't let it change the course of your life. Not saying that is what is happening here, but it may contribute. Hold the horses. Too many people are telling you to leave. Obviously you love your husband and want to get back to normal. There's no magic bullet. You had a crush, as you know it will go away. Your current feelings stem from the crush, and will also go away. Most likely inside you blame hubby's lack of attention on the crush and resent that you are not getting that attention from him. Fairly easy fix. First, give him more attention and he'll end up reciprocating. Second, just wait, it will pass. Said you often cook together, ask him to help you in the kitchen. Go ahead and be a clingy needy by ch. Let him know you need his attention real bad. I'm pretty certain he'll panic and start finding ways to focus more on you. It sounds like you and your husband need to develop a few common interests or do some activities that will bring you together as a couple. It's great to have your own hobbies and do your own thing, but it sounds like you've grown apart a little and you need to close that gap. It may mean that you each give up some of the time you spend on your respective hobbies. But shared experience is a key ingredient to a strong relationship. I do agree with you. We bought each other a puzzle and a Lego set for Christmas with the intent that we'd try them out as a common interest. Hopefully that will lead to something. We only have a handful of pandemic-friendly common interests, so it's been a lot of separate time this past year. This just sounds silly to me. I feel like we're in the same boat, but I see it as a different perspective than you do. My husband does the exact same thing. plays video games all day, watches anime and streams. I love reading, coloring and playing my own solo type games. However, I'm the wife who loves watching him play, who will occasionally play certain games with him, and who watches anime with him as well as watching my own. Think the difference is that while yes, we both have our own computers and our own ways of gaming, we also have our own headphones that we use, and we sit next to each other, so if and when we want to talk, it's not across the room or yelling up the stairs. Honestly, what you should do is find a hobby you can both do together, or find a hobby you can do while sitting next to him. I can't tell you how often I sit next to my man while reading a novel and he's playing video games, and the next thing I know he's giving me loving gestures or telling me about his game or asking why I'm laughing at my book. Quite often we pick an anime to watch together and we'll binge 3 or 4 episodes at a time together on his computer. Right now we're watching the original Dragon Ball because I've never seen it. There are so many animes out there that there's bound to be one that interests you. If you're a healthcare worker, cells at work, Netflix is a great one to watch. You can talk to your husband how you feel. You two need to find something in common to have more of a connection. We do have a few common interests, many of which have been taken by the pandemic. But together we do watch the occasional TV show, cook date-night meals, and share similar senses of humor. We've also tried a few other hobbies out and now do weekly crosswords together. We also bought a puzzle and Lego set for Christmas and plan to try those out. Conversation is normally good but not intellectual since we share very different intellectual interests. Boyfriend, 23 meters, doesn't like when I, 22F, change/want to change my appearance. Me and my boyfriend have been together for around 3 years now. I know it's long to only be now realizing this, but I now realize that my boyfriend is intensely opposed to me changing up my looks in any way. This includes haircuts, hair dye, piercings, etc. I had wanted a septum piercing for a while around a year ago and had expressed this to him, but he would tell me how against it he was. When I got it done, he was initially very upset, and I thought he had just been upset because I didn't tell him I was doing it beforehand and it was a permanent thing. However, I noticed it's more than just him being upset. I hadn't given a heads up. Quarantine has made me really desire to experiment with my looks and play with hairstyles and colors. I wanted to try bangs when I saw so many others trying them out at the beginning of quarantine, which resulted in a bit of an argument when I discussed it with my boyfriend. When I dyed my hair slightly darker, that was an upsetting occurrence too. More recently, I've wanted to try bolder and more intense colors, and when I expressed this to him, he's just concerned with how long it will take to fade away. He really just seems to be trying to preserve my natural appearance as much as possible. I expressed my annoyances to a friend, who then told me that my giving a heads up to my boyfriend was weird, as she told me I shouldn't have to do that at all. I asked her what she would do if her partner dyed their hair a vibrant color without warning, and she said she wouldn't mind since it's their partner's decision and not theirs to put input on. After hearing this, I've been questioning my boyfriend's responses a bit. Are these normal responses? I mean, is it actually weird to feel like you have to discuss your potential appearance changes and/or give a heads up to your significant other? I had always thought that I should probably be talking about appearance changes to my partner before I go through with them as to not shock them. But now I'm stuck between the ideas of it's my body and hair and I can do whatever I want with it and I should let my partner know I'm making a drastic, noticeable change. How do I approach this situation? Would I just say something like, I know you like my natural appearance, but I can do whatever I'd like to with it and I shouldn't beg approval? I don't want to start an argument, but I feel like it will just end up with my boyfriend being upset. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend doesn't like when I change up my looks, almost like he's trying to preserve my natural appearance. Not sure if this response is sorta normal or if I should even feel like I should discuss what I want to do with my hair and stuff. I don't think it's odd to talk about these things with your partner. You care about them and presumably care about their opinions. What's odd is that he just whines and pouts about it all. I think it's weird that you feel like you have to. I know a lot of couples that talk to each other about changing hair colors, getting piercings, etc., but it's often geared towards getting feedback. I also think it's normal for a partner to want to look good for the other and potentially take their preferences into consideration. He really seems to like it when I cut my hair short, so I'm going in for a trim before it gets much longer. For him to expect to have a say is controlling. It's fine if he doesn't want you to get piercings or dye your hair, and it's okay for him to express that preference with the understanding that it's your decision, but this is going too far. You have every right to experiment with your appearance, of course. Your boyfriend doesn't get to decide what you do with your hair, body, style, etc. However, he doesn't have to like it or find it attractive either. I don't think it's unusual at all to give your partner some consideration when altering your appearance. Jesus Christ, yes. So many getting hung up on saying she can change her appearance how she likes. Of course she can, but it doesn't mean her partner has to like it. It's not weird to talk to your partner about things like this. What's strange and out of line are his reactions. I wanted to cut my hair short, always been shoulder length or longer. My boyfriend, although he likes my long hair, encouraged me to go for a bob and bangs. I did at the beginning of quarantine as well, which I don't recommend because I ended up looking like Edna from The Incredibles. You're not putting yourself in harm's way, and these actions are by no means permanent. Hair grows back and piercings can be taken out. There is clearly something more going on. You should try to sit down and have a heart-to-heart. And just to piggyback on this, I mentioned I was thinking of cutting my hair shorter, and my husband's response was, "Oh, please don't, because he likes my hair long." Doesn't matter that much to me, so I never got it more than trimmed, but he didn't get grumpy and we didn't argue about it. I, 24F, feel like I have missed out on my youth and worry that I might regret it in future. What can I do to change this? I, 24F, grew up with both of my parents and my brother, 31M. I have a really supportive, loving home. Growing up, I always did well academically and would say I was a good kid. I was never pressured by parents to perform well or anything of the sort. I've earned my business degree, landed a good job, and preparing to study PGCE distance learning next year so I can teach business. I have an amazing boyfriend, 24M, which I've been dating for almost 7 years now. He's a software engineer. We are trying to save up to buy a house and get married by 2023. My problem is that I can count on one hand how many times I went to clubs/parties in my lifetime. I can also count on one hand, or a few fingers, how many actual friends I have. Probably 2 or 3. Thing is, I'm quite the extrovert. Had loads of friends at uni, at school, and at work. I have great relationships with people, but I'm also not into clubbing. And I can be a bit lazy when it comes to making plans and keeping in touch with people. BTW, my boyfriend encourages me to see friends and never attempts to limit me. I've never gone through a wild, party, clubbing phase. I make time for my BF, my parents, my siblings and nieces and nephews. Those are about the only people I see. Also my BF's family. I worry that I will one day regret not going through the party phase, or being out with friends enough. COVID makes it worse cause I've actually decided not to visit anyone at all since my dad is high risk. My parents are party people though and have loads of friends. I just feel like I'm seen as someone that takes life too seriously, or I've been told that I need to chill and loosen up by some people, and started believing it. I am chilled lol. But I just feel like choices I make now has consequences on my future. Too long didn't read. I, 24F, feel like I missed out on my youth and am afraid that I might regret it in the future. What can I do to change that?